Hello everyone. It's so lovely to see so many people here. Welcome to our annual general meeting and our annual members meeting. I'm Zoe Billingham, I'm chair of the Trust, which is a position I'm really privileged to hold. Before I begin, can I just talk to you a little bit about housekeeping? So there shouldn't be any fire alarms, and if there are, it's for real. So if there is one, then just be assured you'll be guided by both our own members of staff and also people from the forum who will guide you to safety in the most direct way. And also, if you wouldn't mind just setting your mobile phones to silent, that would be really great. Thank you. There was such a buzz, wasn't there, out there? I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of our staff and partners and service users and carers and colleagues who created such a beautiful environment with all of the showcasing of the incredible work that we do in NSFT. And I think we've all been spending many a joyful moment going around and chatting with you all and hearing more of the incredible work that NSFT does. So if I may say on behalf of the board, a huge thank you to everyone. And what was really encouraging is not only did you get me and various of others like myself, including board members, coming and talking to you, you also had the opportunity to talk to other stalls and other people across the Trust, so you're making those links. And I know lots of you also had real interest from members of the public as well, which is great. And I know the physical health checks went down a wow as well, although they didn't manage to get me to do my blood pressure today. Maybe another day would be a good time to do it. But yeah, thanks so much for all the time and trouble and effort that went into those beautiful kind of showcases of all that we did. So a couple of things I will just pull out from the stands, and they were all wonderful, but it's my job as also chair of the Council of Governors, and it's so lovely to see so many of our governors here. Thank you for being here. That we've currently got lots of opportunities for people to become a member of our Council of Governors, and it does involve an election, not of all of the people in Norfolk and Suffolk, but of our members. But if you are interested in becoming a governor, the stand is just outside. It's a really important contribution. I see lots of nods from our Council of Governor members here. A really important contribution to the Trust, keeping us absolutely real and keeping us utterly in touch with the communities that we serve. So have a think about that, and we can talk to you about this after the formal bit of the process is done. One of the things I think that as chair of this organisation for 4 years now, one of the things that I think has been a really real turning point this year is we are beginning to see real improvements. We'll hear much more from my board colleagues about that. But there's also an increased confidence in ourselves to be able to celebrate the successes as and where we see them. And it's so uplifting to me to know that this year our staff have been shortlisted for 13 national awards, and indeed we have won a number of national awards already, and that's a real testimony to our incredible staff, but also the sense that while we still have humility in terms of what we need to do as a trust, we are absolutely not there yet in terms of providing the excellent services we all want to provide, but we are improving, and we are able to show that we do some things which are really best in class. So thank you so much for that. I think it was really important today, on the eve of World Mental Health Day as well, for us as a trust to launch something that's really significant, and this is really close to my heart. And I look around and I see some carers in this room who've been with me on my journey as learning more about mental health as a chair, and that's that we're launching our brand new Carers Charter. It's been a long time in the coming, and that's because we've developed our Carers Charter absolutely in lockstep with our carers. This is not a top-down thing, but it's been a collaborative approach to developing how we're going to ensure that we make good my promise, our promise, that we put carers at the heart of absolutely everything we do. So our carers charter stand is out there. Thanks to the team. I see them very modestly at the back over there, but it's really key for us. As I say, fully co-produced by carers. We must involve the carer's voice in all of the care, in all of the strategies and all of the policies. And the carers charter, it's a fancy word, it's a pledge and a promise. It really is just as simple as that. It is that pledge and promise that carers are going to be at the heart of all we do. It's our promise that your loved one, when they're in our care, you will be part of their care and their treatments and the decisions that you jointly make together. And you will walk with us, and you will be included and invited to walk with us as together we ensure that your loved one gets better. So really, in a nutshell, that's what it's about, but it's a really important point in time for us to make that statement and to make that pledge. And again, thanks for everyone who's been involved in that. So as I said, it's the eve of World Mental Health Day, and this year's theme is access to services, so ensuring that mental health services are available and accessible to absolutely everyone. We have some way to go on this, but you'll hear from Caroline, our Chief Executive, that we are making inroads in our mental health services. And while we have never ever used this as an excuse, I think it's really important for me to state that as a board, not only are we making sure that we improve mental health services in Norfolk and Suffolk, I feel it's important that we stand up for mental health services nationally. I still think it's shocking that 20% of all illness is related to mental health and 8.8% of the NHS budget relates to mental health. That is not an excuse in any way, shape or form, but I think it's really important that these things are said and that we continue to push for parity for mental health services. As I say, not an excuse at all. We have got further to go. We've had a series of inspections this year that indicate that we're meeting our kind of way markers in terms of improvement, and Caroline will talk us about that in a minute. But we do have an absolute ambition and a confidence and a belief, and I think it's really important to say that we are going to be providing outstanding services across the whole of Norfolk and Suffolk, and we will do that in a reasonable time frame. So, thank you very much for listening to me. I'm going to formally open the business of today. There are some rather formal bits of this meeting, I have to say. There will be a chance for questions at the end, but until then, this is a meeting that's held in public and not a public meeting until we get to that point. And I'm just going to stay here and just do some of the little formal bits, which is the first item on the agenda, which is notifications of apologies for absence. I've got Helen Taylor. Have we got any other apologies, Ade?
None that we've been notified of.
Thanks very much indeed. And I've also got the duty of approving the minutes of the NSFT, the Norfolk and Suffolk NHS Foundation Trust, to put it in its long terms annual general meeting and annual members meeting of the 10th of October 2024. Many of you were there then. Thank you very much. Looking at the minutes of that meeting, are there any corrections? No? Could we approve the minutes as an accurate record, please? Thanks very much indeed. So we're now moving on to the review of the year, and once our executives have presented the core agenda items, which we'll go through one by one, as I say, we'll have roving microphones. Put your hand up and ask us all of the questions you like to ask. But now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome our Chief Executive, Caroline Donovan, who's going to give us a review of the year. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. And like Zoe, it's a real privilege to be here today. And I was just thinking, this is my third AGM. And really how great it is. It's just been brilliant to go round and see the stalls and to recognise so many people and to see such great examples of good practice, innovation and great partnership working. So big thank you to everybody who's contributed to that. So as Zoe says, it's my priority and duty, I think, more than priority, to present a review of last year. And we're doing that in a variety of ways, and my colleagues will also be presenting some of the progress as well. So I'm sure most people will know, but just as a reminder, we have quite a significant geography of 1.6 million population. We've got a very large geographical spread of services, and that's a challenge. It's also an opportunity. We have over 30 sites that we provide services from, alongside over 400 beds, with an income of about 375 million of the year that we've just finished. This shows you just the scale of the services that we provide day in, day out. So, over 516,000 service contacts. And I do think that's important, because often what we don't see is the things that are going well day in, day out. With that number of contacts, we obviously see the things where things aren't going as well sometimes, and how we need to learn from those. And you can see there the scale of the number of patients. Nearly 2,000 patients received inpatient care last year. We have almost 5,000 staff, and it was great last year to have welcomed almost 600 new staff. And really importantly, our vacancy rate, which is a big important indicator of us improving as a trust, our culture improving, is now benchmarked very well nationally. So whilst we still would like it to be lower than 9.4%, it's significantly better than it has been in the past. I'm now going to just share with you a video that shows some of our headlines. This has been a fantastic year of progress for NSFT, and a really big thank you to our teams, our partners, service users, carers and families for all the work that you've all done to help us to become a safer, better and kinder organisation. We've delivered 2 of our most positive CQC reports in a decade. I'm really delighted that we now have a Service User and Carer Council that is supporting all of our services, with plans to develop a council in each of our 5 localities. Importantly, we've made access to our services much easier by reducing waiting times. We've received really positive feedback that's improving from service users and carers. And we've opened our new River Centre, a wonderful new inpatient unit that's providing high quality inpatient accommodation. Let's now hear from our teams about some of the highlights of how they've been making a big difference.
Over the past 12 months, we've seen a 59% reduction in the number of patients waiting 18 weeks or longer for treatment. And we are improving in a number of other areas. We really do perform well as an organisation, so we're in a really good place. We've also, in the last 12 months, opened our new £55 million River Centre, which is a state-of-the-art mental health facility in Norwich, providing a much better quality of care for patients in a much better environment.
This year we had a restructure in our trust. We've replaced our previous care groups with new localities. This means our services are grouped in places, which is the same way that our partners work within public health, ICB and our local authorities. This is making it easier to collaborate and plan services for the benefit of our service users. We're able to deliver services in the places where they work and access help.
This year we've established the Service User and Carer Council. It's new to NSFT, we haven't had a council here before, and it's to ensure that the voices of lived experience of service users and carers are heard. So our next steps with the Service User and Carer Council is we're going out for recruitment to the locality councils. Every area of Norfolk and Suffolk will have their own locality council, which will lead into the trust-wide council.
The Think Family Group was created to make sure that families and carers have a better and a greater say in the care of their loved ones who are being treated by NSFT. I became involved in the group because my daughter died by suicide in December 2020. The group's achieved lots of things. There's been a great amount of enthusiasm and determination to make sure families and carers are involved a lot more.
Listening into Action was launched in December 2023. It enables and empowers our staff to make positive changes that enhances our culture in their working environment. Since its launch, we have seen over 240 quick wins that our staff have completed. This ranges from a therapeutic garden at Fellow House to reducing missed assessment appointments by pre-assessment calling. Another component to the Listening into Action is the pioneer teams. We have seen a team in the adult ADHD, Norfolk and Waveney, managing to clear a backlog of 150 patients waiting for urgent prescribing. Listening into Action also enables us to listen and respond to our staff when they raise concerns.
We've made significant improvements this year to make it easier for staff to speak up when they have concerns and to see action taken. This includes bringing the Speak Up service in-house from April 2025 to create the right environment for staff to feel supported and able to speak up. This year, there has also been the launch of the Dear Caroline initiative, which enables staff to directly contact the Chief Executive if they feel that's the best way to raise their concern. We're now focused on learning through speaking up themes, which includes building relationships, sharing information openly with external partners, creation of a digital dashboard to build transparency, and working closely with service users, families and carers.
We want to improve the experience of staff and service users by addressing race equality issues. Our vision is to ensure that staff feel able to hold themselves and others to account in a compassionate way, whilst ensuring we create an anti-racist NSFT. To help us achieve this, we've set up an Inclusion Council and a newly formed Race Equity Group, where we will ensure that we are keeping track of our progress and really delivering on our promises.
Here at NSFT, we have the Efficiency, Value and Improvement Programme, which aims to deliver the trust sufficiency requirement, but also ensures that we're getting best value for the funding that we receive and drives improvements for our service users. The 24-25 financial year tasked the programme with delivering 5% of our total income in efficiencies. It was through a range of initiatives such as reducing our temporary staffing, reducing the number of out-of-trust placements, enhancing the use of our estate and using more digital solutions. We've seen the time our young people spend in the inpatient settings reduce. We've made enhancements to the friends and family test, and we've used creative recruitment solutions.
We've known for a long time that the way to get truly patient safety focused cultures and properly engaged staff is to have strong clinical leadership. We've seen emerging clinical leaders stepping into associate director roles, working in each of our networks to lead on the quality of services, and excitingly we now have lead AHPs providing some of that really critical care around different aspects of what we do than just the conventional medical model.
During the last 12 months at NSFT, we've seen some really tremendous improvements, and that's all thanks to the tremendous work of our staff. For example, we've been awarded Menopause Employer of the Year, and we've received the Gold Award for the work that we're doing with armed forces personnel and veterans. We are very aware that we have got more to do and further to go, but we're absolutely determined to work with our partners so that we provide excellent services and care to our service users and carers.
Thank you very much. So hopefully that's just helpful in terms of some of the brilliant headlines and highlights, particularly from our clinical teams that they've delivered during the year. The Trust has had a history of instability of leadership, and I think many people will have been part of that story. So it's been really, really important to us that we are building a capable and stable team and a board. So we're now delighted that we have a full complement of a board, although we are out to recruit for 3 non-executive directors at the moment because some of our wonderful non-executive directors have come to the ends of their term. So that's been a really important part of our improvement journey. And as we've seen in the video, we've got 15 fantastic new locality directors who are truly leading the transformation and improvement within communities and alongside their staff. We've developed a completely new strategy. Our overall vision is to be safer, kinder, better, and some new values, that we work as a team, that we hold each other to account, that we focus on learning and improvement, and that we're kind. And we're really, really driving our values as part of an integrated way that we behave day in, day out. And we also have some behaviours that are supporting that. And that's really, really important for us, particularly at the board and at senior team level, that we're role modelling the values we want to see right across the organisation. Our strategy gives us 4 main priorities: to improve health, improve care, improve culture, and improve value. And then to make sure that we're actually delivering the strategy, and it's not a strategy that sits on a shelf for 5 years. We have 12 large-scale major change programmes, and you can see there down the right what those 12 programmes are. Again, they're dynamic, they're changing according to the priorities that we have month on month. In terms of our improving health priorities, one of the things we're really proud of is the work we've done, which our board approved last week, our very new health equity strategy. So a big part of us working in localities is to support our communities much closer to their homes, to support people to stay as well as possible so that people don't need to get into a crisis, and to really focus on understanding where there is disparity across our communities and how we can really step in and support. Particularly to focus on, we know there's significant disparity in mortality and morbidity rates. We know that people die of suicide young, and we know that there's a disparity of people with mental health issues of about 15 to 20 years from the general population. So and a big part of that is making sure that people have their physical health needs met. And we've seen today some of the stands where we've had people that are really working on physical health. So it's a thank you to colleagues who've developed that, and a really high priority for us going forward. As we heard from Stuart in the video, a massively important part of our priorities is people being able to get into services. No point in providing high quality services if people can't access services. And we had a lot of work to do, and we still have a lot of work to do. We've by no means sorted this out, but we're making really good progress. And you can see there from the graphs the significant reductions that we've managed to put in place so that people are being seen in a much more reductions of waiting lists, so that people are being seen in a much more timely way. In terms of improving our care once people get into our services, of course we want every single one of our services to be providing outstanding care, as Zoe says. We know we've got a way to go, but it was really pleasing when the CQC came earlier in the year and saw significant improvement. And I went through every CQC report that we've ever had back to 2015, and we've had 8 inspections. I think we're the most inspected trust probably in the country, and this is by a long shot the most positive set of reports we've had. Now we've still got more work to do, not by any means being complacent, but it's really encouraging, and again a massive testament to our staff, our service users and carers who've worked in active partnership, and our partners to the progress that is being made. Importantly, what people want to know is when people do very sadly die, then what are we doing to make sure we're learning from those deaths? And how are we making sure that we're not repeating any themes of why people might not have had the right appropriate support, which may have contributed either to a poor experience or tragically to a death? And what we can see is in the period over this report that we're seeing a significant reduction in the number of prevention of future death notices that coroners are giving us. Now we're again by no means being complacent around that, and we're working at the moment to truly and deeply understand what are the themes underneath that, and how can we demonstrate that we're not it's not just about numbers, it's about making sure we haven't got the same themes where we're not doing everything we can to support people in the way that they need to be supported. We heard again on the video, and a big thank you to colleagues in this room who've been part of establishing and leading our new Service User and Carer Council. The chair of the council is in attendance at each of our trust boards, and we're really looking forward to the development of our locality councils, which in the next few weeks we're planning to get up and running in partnership with our localities. And as Zoe says, big part of our whole focus as a trust is service users and carers need to be central to absolutely everything we do. And the new Carers Charter is really, really, really important. And really important that, like the trust strategy, that's not just a charter that goes on a shelf, but that we live, breathe it every day, and our carers hold us to account to make sure that their experiences and the fact that we're starting to work in much closer partnership with families and loved ones is a hallmark of that charter. So again, wonderful people in this room have been part of developing the charter, and a massive thank you to you. Well, it's really important that we start continually understand. So what's the impact of the care that we're delivering? Would each of us want to recommend the services to our friends and family, our loved ones? This is only one way of measuring the quality of our services. And whilst again we have more to do, it's really great that you can see the significant improvements that have been sustained across our services when we've asked our friends and family. Our culture is absolutely key to our improvement, and we heard again on the video from Priscilla the work that we're doing and we're continuing to do. We had our second wave Listening into Action Pass It On event last Friday, and we're now planning our third wave 3 Listening into Action. The whole purpose of this is that we listen, staff themselves, service users, partners, they suggest these are the things we'd like to see improving, and then teams work on those improvements and then spread that great practice to other teams, and round we go again. So it's starting to really embed across the trust as a way we do things around here. And again, loads of people
I witnessed a lot of incredible projects coming through the first wave, and then was delighted to get involved in the second wave. And being a part of it has really meant so much to me. I believe that together we are the change.
What I like about Listening to Action is that it actually puts staff and patients right at the centre of things. It's not just about collecting feedback and moving on, it's about really doing something with that feedback.
So I have to start with saying it is liberating, and also it's like you've been handed a spark and it just goes from person to person, and it's just lightening different ideas, and it makes you feel amazing, feel heard, and feel be part of the bigger picture.
In all honesty, I think the word LIA or the phrase LIA seems to sort of, it's well known across the trust. So if it's something you're doing where LIA is behind you, I think it becomes a lot easier. The mere mention of LIA and therefore I need to pilot something on your ward, for example, gets taken on board very quickly. I think that's the sort of appetite or the appreciation from everybody within an organisation to know LIA is here to stay, but then LIA is here to improve what we do.
So to me personally, LIA has given us the opportunity to kind of work in a more trust-wide way. So we've been able to identify challenges in different areas and kind of work together collaboratively to kind of fix those.
I wanted to be part of LIA because I knew that I could make a change, because I knew this was an opportunity to go out, speak to our colleagues, speak to people that also almost feel too far away, and that's what we've got rid of, like the red tape and all that kind of stuff that's often associated with getting change or making change. Now I've got this role, which is an outcome of LIA. I now get to lead for the next 12 months on making service improvement for that discipline.
I was certain that there would be no chance that it would do anything good. I was surprised that actually we were supported and we were able to make some changes that are in place. And also, the end of it isn't the end of it. When you finish your bit, it's passed over to someone else and they pick it up and then they can take it further from there as well. So I would say it's worthwhile doing.
So the reason I'm doing this and the reason I want to be involved in NIA is essentially because it makes me feel good, and it makes the job feel better, and it makes people around you feel like there is some meaning in the work that we do. And I think doctors are brilliant at treating patients, understanding problems in medical terms and doing the right thing, and they really care about that. But often what I found is that what doctors are not very good at is either looking after the system or looking after themselves. And I think LIA provides the opportunity to do both those things.
So the advice I'll give to my colleagues is that listening into action is a platform for growth and learning. As for me, it gave me the opportunity to grow. So with LIA, we grow together, we go further together, and that's how we lead with purpose.
That just shows you our staff saying how meaningful the work that they're doing is, and what a catalyst it is for improving patient care and for their working lives. So again, many people in this room have been part of that journey, and a big thank you to you. What's essential is the impact in terms of our workforce, and obviously what we want to make sure is that people are wanting to come and work at NSFT, they're having a good experience and they're wanting to stay working for NSFT, and that hasn't always been the case, and by no means have we got it right. We've still got a lot of work to do in terms of our culture, but you can see the vacancy levels both for our medical colleagues and nursing colleagues are reducing, and it's brilliant that we've got so many newly registered student nurses, 74 who've joined us this year from their training who want to come and work here. And you can see overall our turnover of staff, people leaving the organisation, has reduced quite significantly in the last couple of years. Big part of improving our culture is to really support all of our staff to feel included. And we've been very open this year about the fact that we have got significant issues. In my view, there is right across society and there is right across the NHS, and from my experience, right across every organisation I've ever worked in, of racism. Part of the issue of tackling racism is being very open and transparent about that. We've invested in a very detailed review with a national expert, Yvonne Coghill, who's worked with us, and we've co-produced a fantastic race equality plan with our teams. And we've had a wonderful race conference where we heard from the voices of many of our black and minority ethnic colleagues about the experiences they've had over many years and how they haven't felt wanted, involved, valued. So we are absolutely determined that we are going to change this, and we do have a really ambitious and strong race equality plan that we are prioritising as a very high priority for our trust board. And again, many thank you to people who've been part of that in the room. As we heard from Holly, our wonderful Freedom to Speak Up Guardian, we have this year moved to a trust-led Freedom to Speak Up Guardian service. The trust has historically had real challenges in people feeling not able to speak up, and when they did speak up, didn't feel they were listened to and couldn't see actions being taken. So we've launched a significant Freedom to Speak Up programme. It's great that we've got over 50 Speak Up champions now. We've also complemented that with people being able to write to me directly about any issues, and we publicly publish wherever we can what the issue is somebody's spoken up about and what we're doing about it. So we create a movement where people can speak out and we take action. So very much the theme of listening and actioning. Our staff, our partners, again, historically, we haven't always had the best reputation for being a great partner. And it's been a very high priority for the Trust Board in the last year to focus on making sure that we work alongside all of our partners to provide the highest quality care. We've asked our partners how we're doing, and again, we've got much more work to do. And moving into our localities has been a massive part of our priority and our strategy, but we can see that our partners are saying it's definitely improving, and they feel like we're coming to the table and are serious about wanting to partner together. We've done all of this in a context of making sure that we improve value. And obviously our digital transformation is key to us going forward in how we really maximise the value that we have from every single pound, that we really focus on innovation and transformation. We are in the process of procuring a new electronic patient record. That's a fantastic opportunity for us all to embrace the digital agenda, and it's exploding really, the opportunity with digital, particularly with artificial intelligence, and we really want to embrace that explosion and really make sure that we can support that to improve the quality of our patient care. We've had to do this in a very challenging financial climate, and that climate is challenging across the country. Every single provider trust has the same set of challenges. Our efficiency programme this year has been almost 19 million. It's been so important for us to focus on, firstly, how can we improve patient care? How can we improve quality? And you can see there the programmes of our efficiency programme, that if we focus on those, then the money in the pound is used even more wisely. That's an ongoing challenge for us, but one that we take very seriously, and we make really, really sure that there's no loss or reduction in the quality of care as we continue to improve. And as Zoe says, it's so important that we're able to thank and celebrate and start to get awards and start to be recognised. And in some pockets, we've got organisations throughout England who are wanting to come and find out about some of the work that we're doing, which is fantastic, given, again, some of the history of this trust. And a massive congratulations to everybody. Part of that is making sure we've got a culture of celebration, and we had our annual staff awards in the year and had over 630 nominations, which was, again, unprecedented. We've launched a monthly staff award, and we celebrate that in each of our localities as well as trust-wide. And as Zoe says, we've been the finalists and winners of a number of different national awards in this year. So a very, very big thank you to everybody. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Caroline. Just squeeze in so Jason can get by.
Can you get
Look at that one. Can you squeeze in?
Yeah,
I'll just put a few bags as an assault course behind as well for him. But he survived that one. Thanks very much indeed, Caroline, for such a comprehensive review of the year. Sometimes it's you can forget how much has happened in the last year. It really is extraordinary. And the testimony of our staff was absolutely wonderful there as well. So thank you to everyone that pulled that together. I'd like to invite Jason Hollidge, who's our Chief Finance Officer, to present the financial overview, noting that the report and accounts have already been laid before Parliament and have been received by our Council of Governors. Jason.
Thank you, Zoe. And as Zoe says, these are the financial accounts relating to the year 24-25. So that's ending on the 31st of March 2025, as laid before Parliament, but also available on our website. So please do take a look. For the summary of the financial year is we had a plan to deliver a break-even position. And we've reported a small surplus of £3,000 against that plan. So effectively, we achieved the plan we made. At the year end, we had a cash balance of 17.5 million, a healthy cash balance, and we had expended capital expenditure of 15.3 million within that year. In terms of governance, financial governance, we achieved favourable internal and external audit opinions with no adverse material findings in those reports. So where does our funding come from? So we have the four main sources of income, with 52% coming from Norfolk and Waveney Integrated Care Board, 29% coming from Suffolk North East Essex Integrated Care Board, 7% coming from East of England Provider Collaborative, and 7% from NHS England. And what do we spend our money on? So as you'd expect, the major chunk of our expenditure, 74% of our total expenditure, is on our excellent staff. Other costs pale into insignificance when it compares to the amount we spend on our staff costs, with as you can see, 4% on premises and buildings, and 3% on out-of-trust placements. In terms of the capital expenditure that I referred to, so the 15.3 million, 78% of that was spent on our Rivers Centre, our new development at Helston. 17% was spent on other estates-related items. So that's improvements to care, improvements to safety across our buildings, across our sites, and 6% on digital. But that's enough about percentages. So I know finance can be a bit dull. So what I tried to do is I was going to call this the fun finance facts, but I think that might be pushing it a bit too far. So I'm looking at this through the eyes of the Women's Euro football tournament, which was held this summer. And of course, England were successful. No offence, Kath. So our funding of just shy of £400 million was 4 times more than the budgeted competition costs of the Women's Euros. 75% of our expenses for the year were pay costs. That's the equivalent to the same conversion, bear with me on this one, the same conversion rate of the Lionesses' penalties. If you're with me, that's that's 111 scored out of 38 missed. We processed over 24,000 invoices. If they were people, that's the equivalent to 70% of the number of spectators in the final. Some of them are rich furious, I know. In terms of financial challenges, so as Zoe and Caroline have both mentioned, we really are moving into challenging financial times across the NHS. And the challenges we have are really in 4 particular areas. So one being the quality improvements in a financially challenged environment, and that's both system and nationally. A continuous increase for demand for our services and acuity as well for our services, and the impact this has on our resources and how we spend the pound that we have available to us. Stuart referred to in the film earlier about the transformation of services and how we transform our services in an effective way to be sustainable for the future. And one key risk for us as an organisation is the ending of national deficit funding streams, which we have received in this financial year. And we need to be sustainable to ensure that we can provide the services we need to when that funding ends. So finally, just to some estates facts and figures. So in terms of our occupied building floor area of just over 82,000 square metres, that's the equivalent to 11.5 football pitches. I'm not going to read all of these, you'll be thankful for. The electricity usage we have for our trust in the year is just over 7.5 million kilowatts. And you think, what's a kilowatt? Well, that's the equivalent to powering the 94 million TVs that watched the single matches in the Euros. And finally, we used over 123,000 cubic metres of football. Got it on the mind. Of water. That's the equivalent to 187 bottles of water for every person who attended every match throughout the Euros this summer. And on that note, I will pass over to Addy. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. I don't know where he conjures these facts and figures up from. Whether they bear any relationship to reality is a whole other question, isn't it? But thank you very much indeed for that, Jason. I'm now going to hand over to Ade, who's our Director of Governance, and he's going to highlight the changes to the Constitution to all of our members. Good luck in making this nearly as interesting as the last item, which have been approved both by our Council of Governors and by the Board of Directors since the last annual general meeting and annual members meeting.
Thanks, Zoe. I'm not going to try. However, I do have a bit of audience participation, so wait for that. As Zoe indicated, in order for us to make any changes to our Constitution, it requires 3 stages to be fulfilled. For the first 2 we've done, so we've had the approval of our board and our Council of Governors to the changes I'm going to talk through. And the third bit is, the most important bit is now for you as our members to approve what I'm going to just spend a bit of time talking through. So there are two types of changes that we are wishing to make to our constitution this time. The first I have highlighted. I won't go through them in detail. They are fairly procedural changes, and they're based mainly on the introduction of some further guidance from NHS England in relation to how we do governance. So they published a Code of Governance in 2023, and what those changes did were they changed some of the wording of some of the details within all trust constitutions, all foundation trust constitutions, which we now want to reflect in our constitution. Essentially, where they refer to the terms of offices of non-executive directors, basically we have said that we want our NEDs to serve no more than 3 terms of a total of 9 years. And that's the same impact as these changes will bring, except that they're phrased in a slightly different way. And what we're seeking to do through this change is to make sure those changes reflect the wording in the new Code of Governance. The other change, which again is fairly procedural, is to change our description of our deputy chair from what we used to call vice chair, which is a bit more modern and appropriate. And finally, we also want to change one of the annexes to our constitution, where we're talking about the resignation of a governor who has less than a year of their tenure remaining, to allow that tenure to move to the next election cycle, just to make sure that, that there is continuity in our Council of Governors. So those are, as I said, fairly procedural changes. The more substantive changes we are looking to make, again, refer back to some of the issues that have been raised by both Zoe and Caroline around the changes to the way our trust is run, away from the old care groups into localities. So previously we had our public service user and carer governors based on the two counties, Norfolk and Suffolk. And because we now have these locality structures, we want our public governors and our service user and carer governors to better represent the communities within our 5 localities. And so we're seeking to change our constituencies so that they match those localities. And as you can see from the table, we've tried to mold those constituencies to represent largely the number of members that we have in each of the localities. So you'll see, for example, in central Norfolk, we're aiming to have 5 governors or 5 public governors, while in West Suffolk, we're looking at 2 public governors. Again, just reflecting the difference in the number of members we have in those 2 areas. We're also seeking to raise the number of staff governors from 4, which it is currently, to 5, again, to bring that alignment. Although we're not asking our staff governors to represent each locality, we want there to be the same number as localities in total. So those are, in summary, the changes that we want to make. As I said, some procedural ones and some more substantive ones to change the way that we run our Council of Governors. So in order for us to get this through, I'm going to need your help. I'm going to ask you, through a simple raising of hands, all those in favour of the changes I've talked about, please raise your hand. Thank you very much. And anybody who's not in favour, please raise your hand. Excellent. Oh, thank you. One not in favour. That's recorded. Thank you very much. So just by looking visibly, I would say the proposal to amend the Constitution is passed, and we shall record that in the minutes. Thank you very much for your help.
Thanks, Ade. Well done. Lovely. Thank you so much, Ade. I'd now like to invite Melinda Bird, our lead governor, to step up to the lectern. Welcome Melinda, and also a huge thank you to you for taking on the role as lead governor. And I'm delighted that Melinda is going to highlight the key aspects of the report of the Council of Governors.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. As Zoe said, I'm Melinda Bird, and I'm very privileged to be a member of staff who became a staff governor, and I'm now the lead governor. So I'd just like to present some information about the governors, which it is a case of follow that, I think. So we've had a very busy, exciting and productive year, I feel. We've welcomed 11 new governors to our Council of Governors, and we've sadly had to say goodbye to 8 of our governors, but for some of them it's been for, they've come to the end of their tenure, and for some we've had Paul Harrison, who has left us as interim lead governor and has become one of our NEDs, and as you heard earlier from Caroline's presentation, Talia has left us to become co-chair of the Service User and Carer Council, which we're delighted about. So I just wanted to say that because we've had the 8 governors that have moved on, I just wanted to say that we have got vacancies at the moment. We have got nominations opening on the 10th of October, and they're open until the 27th of October. I know quite a few people have come to the prospective governor membership meetings that I've been chairing, and I have spoken to a few people today, so we would be really pleased if you would go online, and there's an application form that you complete. So the voting opens on the 13th of November, and it closes on the 4th of December. And then my understanding is that on the 5th of December, you'll hear whether or not you've been successful. So we look forward to hearing the results of that. So I'm now tasked with giving our governor highlights for the year. We've got so many things that I wanted to talk to you about, so I'm just picking out the main highlights. So we've had some really, really good high quality development sessions. For example, in August, we learnt about NSFT's inspirational plans for health equity, which Kath's leading with that, and that was really interesting to hear. And we've also had some of the NEDs come and share those sessions, which has been really useful. So we have had lots of really excellent training sessions. So we had NHS providers come and teach us all about the role of the governors, and something that stands to mind for me in particular, we had Chris Lake convene some training with the execs and the NEDs and the Council of Governors, which really brought home what it is to be a governor and what our role is. And what I can say to you, which was said I think 31 times, was that our role is to hold the NEDs to account and to have assurance that the executive board are doing as they should be doing. So moving swiftly on, we've had the privilege, and this is a real step forward, I feel, we've had the privilege of being allowed to observe boards. So we've got Eric is observing the Audit and Risk Committee. We've got Lee observing the People and Culture Committee. Dan observes the Mental Health Legislation Committee. Diana observes Performance and Finance, and Ian has been observing the Quality Committee. And certainly from that, we have a governor report that is shared with the Council of Governors. And, you know, I do feel assured that we are seeing that the NEDs are doing their role and the execs are doing a really, really good job. So one of the things that I absolutely love is the governor visits that we've been doing. We've undertaken a number of staff governor visits, which is just obviously those of us that are staff. And I've been really impressed how staff feel able to really share with us the challenges, but also the positives of the workplace. And then we then feed that back. So it does actually come up to executives, which really have enjoyed that. And we've also undertaken governor visits with some of the execs, so different groups of governors have gone on different visits. I had a fabulous visit to the Dragonfly unit, which was just outstanding. And then we recently went, a group of us with Addy, to Rivers Centre. And again, just so proud and so blown away to see what facilities we've got for patients. And it was lovely to meet the patients. So, more governor visits. So we have also had quite an active rollout in the community. Some of my governor peers went to the music festivals. We've been to county shows, we've been to carers events, and we've also been to the excellent race equality conference to hear about BAME staff's experience of racial discrimination, and obviously we're very on board with supporting with that work. So we recently went on a coffee crawl in Ipswich, some of the governors, to encourage patients and carers to stand as governors, and we also went to Gateway House in Wyndham, which was, again, really interesting to meet with community staff and hear their very different issues to staff working in the acute places. So this is us at Rivers Centre. And we've had a really busy week this last week. We've been holding prospective member, governor members meetings, so we've been hosting those, and we also did the adult experience of autism, which was really well attended. We had, I think, nearly 50 participants came along and some really high quality questions. So my final slide. So this is about our membership, and I'm quite blown away by the fact that we've got nearly 15,000 members. Obviously we're always seeking to get more members, but we really look forward as a Council of Governors to working with service users, carers, staff, and with our executive team for the next 12 months to support NSFT's improvement journey. I think it is a privilege for us all to be part of that work. Thank you.
What a brilliant overview by Melinda, and just for those that don't know, the role of Council of Governor is entirely voluntary and entirely fundamental to the work of our trust. So Melinda, thank you very much indeed for all you do, and thank you too to the many governors that we see in the room. Melinda, I think you forgot to mention that 15,000 members is also the number of goals that England scored on the way to winning the Euros, but you forgot that. Anthony, I'm really delighted to ask Anthony now to come to the lectern. Anthony is our chief nurse, and he's going to highlight for us all of the aspects of the quality account. Anthony.
Thank you very much, Zoe, and good afternoon, everyone. Lovely to see so many of you in the room. I've got a video that I'm going to show that brings to life our quality improvements over the past year. But just before I do that, some reflections in terms of quality. I think many of you will know that, well, Caroline mentioned it was her third. This is my second AGM. I was new to the Trust last year, so I've been at the Trust for just over 18 months now, and it's heartening to see the improvements that have taken place during the time that I've been here, and I think it's always important for us to just pause and think about what the core purpose of the Trust is. We're here to provide those secondary specialist mental health and learning disability services. And I often think about quality, bringing it down to the actual point of care. So what are we doing day in, day out around the point of care for the people who need to use our services? And those of you that were sharp-eyed enough, you'll have seen some of the stats, which are far more impressive than Norwich's stats there this year, I have to say. You'll have seen the stats that, you know, over 500,000, excess of 500,000 points of contact with service users in our care. Thinking about all of those points of contact, are we assured that we're getting it right each time? We know that we probably have got lots to do to improve, but just thinking about that, it's a good reminder to all of us, our clinicians and support staff, about each of those contacts. Are we doing everything we possibly can to get it right? I think about a quote, and don't ask me who the quote was by, but it's often a helpful one, that healing grows in honesty, openness, and the trust to speak out. And that's a kind of an allusion to us as an organisation, and the need for us to really think about, are we being honest about, are we getting it right? Are we being honest that we're doing things in line with professional and best practice standards all of the time? These are the things that will help us to improve quality and safety within our services. Are we open when we get it wrong? Caroline mentioned about the important work around prevention of future deaths. We've really focused hard on all of that this year, really tried to get the learning and the application of that learning into a much better place within the organisation, to give our service users, carers and the public more confidence about our capability and our competence to learn and improve, and the courage to speak out. We can't improve things if we don't hear what people see and feel is not right. And again, there's been some really impressive work through Holly and others in terms of speaking out. But equally, you know, our clinicians having those open and honest, psychologically safe discussions about when things aren't quite right and the need to improve them. So these are really important aspects of quality and safety within the organisation. Delighted to Caroline's already mentioned, but the commitment of our staff to improve the quality of our community services, to achieve to have your regulator, you know, the objective sort of assessment by the regulator to find that the quality of our community services was good. That's impressive across not just our services, but when you look across the country. Community mental health services are under tremendous pressure, but for our workforce to achieve that was a real tribute to them. And again, the progress that has been made in our crisis pathway has equally been significant. Lots of acknowledgement by CQC about the good work in progress that has been made. So really heartening. I always refer to what's the greatest asset in an organisation, a service like ours. It's our staff. We don't have lots of fancy gadgets and equipment. We rely on our staff. So having our well-supported staff with the right set of skills, competencies, really important. We've been doing some important work around safe staffing in the organisation over this past year. We've got more to do. And through that work, we'll be looking at, what are the skills and competencies, thinking about the point of care that our staff need to be supported with in order to deliver good, effective, high quality care. So that's another really important piece of work for us. And before I move on to the video, being candid, being honest with our public about where we are. And I think we've made huge strides about being honest about where we are and what we need to do. We've got a fantastic quality improvement programme of work set out for the next few years, and that's going to really help us drive the quality improvements that are needed in the organisation. But we rely on our staff, and we rely on the support, the fantastic support of our partners in this programme of work. So there are just some reflections. You're going to see some wonderful examples of some of the quality improvements that we've achieved through the video. Oh. Is it coming on? Thank you.
We have introduced new services across our trust, including a new perinatal loss pathway for those suffering baby loss, grief and trauma, as well as a new specialist support service for survivors and victims of sexual abuse and assault. we've expanded Participate, our young people's involvement group, into Norfolk and Waveney. This year, the team created a powerful film to raise suicide awareness.
We received numerous accreditations, including ones for our Learning Disability and Autism team in Suffolk, in recognition for high-quality care and practices. Our Prevention and Management of Aggression team for delivering ethical training standards. And our Kingfisher Mother and Baby Unit, which has supported more than 270 women since it opened in 2019.
More service users are sharing feedback through our friends and family test, with 81% of service users rating their experiences as good or very good in our most recent test. Positive themes highlighted by the FFT include caring and supportive staff, prompt responses and effective therapy and treatment. Areas for continuous improvement include continuity of support, communication and waiting times.
255 people responded to the Community Mental Health Survey with positive responses to questions covering the following themes. The following areas were highlighted as areas for improvement.
Through our Quality Improvement Programme, 47 improvement requests have been supported, with 23 individual projects developed and 97% involving people with lived experience.
Examples include safe wards, where we delivered a 40% reduction in conflict and containment incidents. Outcomes bundle, which is improving recording and monitoring of patient outcomes. And falls reduction, involving 8 older persons wards working together to prevent or reduce falls.
93 quality and safety reviews have taken place across 7 service lines, as well as 15 environmental reviews. These reviews told us that carers feel involved in their loved one's care, there is safe management of waiting lists, the culture is open and supportive, and that quality of clinical notes has improved. Areas identified for improvement include ensuring safety plans contain contact details for support networks, offering more physical health assessments for service users, improving awareness and understanding of monitoring care quality, and evidencing collaboration with service users and carers in discharge planning.
Clinical audit participation is high across our inpatient, crisis and community services, and 5 out of 6 of our patient-led assessments of the care environment are above the national average.
2,414 NSFT staff completed the NHS staff survey in 2024. Since then, listening interaction teams have been delivering on key themes raised, such as supporting leaders to role model our values and develop high-performing teams, ensuring we act on concerns and learn from incidents, improving well-being and engagement for our staff, taking action to reduce racism, and delivering better career framework and training.
7 employee network groups, plus 24 inclusion advocates are supporting colleagues trust-wide. Led by staff, for staff, helping shape an inclusive, supportive, and empowering workplace.
We have agreed 3 quality improvement priorities for 2025-26. They are:
patient safety, strengthen processes to observe and act upon deterioration of physical health in service users.
Patient experience, we will harness the valuable insight and experience of service users and carers to improve services through a culture of co-production.
Clinical effectiveness, embedding the use of outcome measures, ensuring that outcomes are used to inform improvements in practice.
Thank you for listening to some of our quality account highlights for 2024 to 2025.
Okay, what a fabulous catalogue of improvement work that's been done in the Trust, and forming the foundation, of the further work that we're going to do. So thank you all very much, and I commend the quality of account to you.
Thanks so much for all of those presentations. It's now that time of the day when we'd like to open up to the floor for questions. So you've heard lots of what's going on. There's still challenges, aren't there, within NSFT, but I hope that you've heard of the commitment that we share as a board to walk with our service users, carers and staff towards that ambition of being outstanding. So this is your chance to ask questions. I'll probably field most of the questions towards our panel, but of course I've got all of our colleagues from our executive and non-executive members of our board. So stay on your toes, because I may direct some at you. I may even ask some of the members of the audience to answer some of the questions, depending on how I feel. But there's some roving mics going around, and really, please, I do welcome contributions, thoughts, dialogue. You know, is what you've seen up there a reality? Is it a divorce from your reality? Are you happy to contribute? Yes, and if you wouldn't just mind if you feel comfortable just giving us your first name, that would be lovely. But don't worry.
Hello, I'm Simon Case, and I'm from Unison, and I'm representing Norfolk and Waveney Mind counsellors who deliver talk and therapies service for the trust. I've had to come to this meeting today because Mind are actually threatening the counsellors with dismissal if they don't deliver high-intensity therapy. However, they've been told by Mind that they are not high-intensity therapists, and that's why the pay banding reflects that. The NHS Talking Therapies manual is very, very clear. It states that any high-intensity therapist delivering step 3 talking therapies treatment should be band 7, and there is a job description there that's there. This has been going on for over 2 years now. The trust has been well aware of it for over a year, and we've absolutely got nowhere. We had a meeting last week.
Simon, can you put your question, please?
Yeah, I'm just giving a bit of background.
Yeah. Thanks.
We had a meeting with ACAS last week, and basically we're still right at the beginning. So I've got 4 very, very simple questions that I'd like an answer to today, because without these we can't move forward, and I'll find it very difficult to defend.
So I'm just going to be really clear on this.
Yeah.
This is in respect of staff that work for Mind, isn't it? Which is separate from NSFT, obviously.
But it's Mind are telling us that NFST have specifically told us things like, for example...
So, Simon, I'm going to ask you to put your question, please, because this is a very specific issue, which we're aware of, obviously, and I'm sorry you felt that you've had to come here in order to get answers. I'm going to ask you to put one question, please. This has been an ongoing issue. It's an industrial dispute, if you like, and I completely respect your right to do that. But if you'd put one question, we'll take that, and the rest I'm going to take offline, because this is not the core business of the AGM. So please put one question.
Okay, but we've had to come here because we have been invited to ACAS meetings to put your view over, but that hasn't happened, and that's why we've got to come today.
So Simon, please put your question. Yeah. One question, please. I'm going to ask you to pick one of your 4 questions, and we'll do our best to answer it, and then we'll take this offline.
Okay. Do NSFT understand the talking therapy counsellors to be step 3 high-intensity therapists?
Thanks very much indeed. So is that something that we're able to answer here, Caroline, or is this quite a complicated thing?
I mean, it is complicated, and we're very aware of it, and we have been involved, as you know, Simon. We're not the employer, but we obviously have a partnership role. I'll see if Jeremy, who's been taking the lead as an executive perspective, can just help with that. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And this is Jeremy Over, who's our Chief People Officer, who I think you know, Simon. But Jeremy, over to you.
Hi. Is this working? Yes, it is. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Jeremy. I'm the Chief People Officer here at NSFT. I've worked here since June, so not met many of you, so thank you for the opportunity to say hello. Before I answer Simon's question, I also just wanted to add to what was in the video around our partnerships. So we work very closely with our staff side colleagues at NSFT. We are working in partnership with Unison, with RCN, with the BMA, with other unions that are represented in our organisation, and that's another important part of how we are as an employer. that I'd like to add to what was in our videos earlier on today. Simon, thank you for your question. You and I have been corresponding, and we will continue to do so, I'm sure, and that's my commitment to you outside of here. So yes, this is a dispute between a group of councillors who work for Mind and those councillors represented by Unison. Yes, it's a service that has been commissioned by NSFT, and when this service was commissioned, in that contract, it stipulated around NHS remuneration terms being paid to the workers in that service, even though they're not NHS employees, and that is the case. As Simon mentions, the two parties have been meeting facilitated by ACAS, and it's really important that that process is respected. We leave space for those discussions. In respect to Simon's very specific question, I'll continue to liaise with them outside of here because it's a very technical question that I don't have the time to answer this afternoon, Zoe.
Thanks very much indeed, Jeremy, and thank you for coming, Simon. I know you're disappointed you didn't get a full response, but I think members of the audience will understand that obviously there's some complexities here, but you're very welcome to be here. Let's take some more questions, please. Yes, the lady with the blue top on, please.
As you're aware, there's very little understanding of the extreme anxiety of people with the autistic spectrum. And I've been told that if they've got complex needs as well, they get no help. I was wondering what further training and better training you're going to give to people with autism. But also can I say too, it would have been good for inclusion and equality to have had someone signing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, thanks very much for that. That's really helpful. That's a good point. We'll take that one away. We'll take the signing point away. And in terms of services, I'm just going to take one question at a time, if I may. So I can see that you've got your hand up, but I'm just taking this one question. So in terms of the question around autism and provision of our services, who would like to respond to that?
If I just talk more broadly, then maybe invite Anthony to just come in. So people with neurodevelopmental delay are right across the country waiting long periods of time for assessment and treatment. So it's something that, as part of our being very open and transparent, is the waiting times are too long. We have got some schemes. We heard at our last board last week around a particular commission service for people with ADHD, for example, that we're giving, and we heard from a service user about the impact of a recovery college support while they were waiting, and how wonderful that was. No, I couldn't agree more. I don't think there's any question at all of the fact that there is not the funding for people with autism or ADHD, whether you're an adult or a child, but there should be. Now, obviously, there's a national review that's just been commissioned as well, and we have reduced waiting times working with partners, but they're not where they need to be. I don't know, Anthony, if there's anything in addition you'd add?
Not really, Caroline. To say that we are doing that work. We're looking at how we can train and equip our staff where people have been diagnosed, and around the support that needs to be provided. But yeah, we realise this is an area that we've got to do some further work on, I'm afraid. Sorry, Kath's mentioned the Oliver McGowan training that we're rolling out in the trust as well, which will help in this area.
Yeah, it's something that we're really acutely aware of, but it's something that we want to be reminded by yourselves that we still continue to need to do better. So thank you very much for asking that question. Thank you. And the lady in green next to you, and then I'm going to go over there. Yes.
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to add to what's just been said. It's after autism diagnosis. Adults with autism, they're always going to be autistic. They're not going to get better. They suffer from very bad anxiety and depression frequently, which comes and goes throughout their life. So it's not a question of somebody being diagnosed, given a bit of help, and then being sent on their way. What is needed is a service that adults can dip in and out of, leave if they feel a bit better, and then have quick access to when they're having a crisis. And there is absolutely nothing like that available in Norfolk. And I think the staff need real in-depth training in autism, because it is quite a subtle condition. People present very differently. And yes, I think you need a great deal more training. And the suicide rate amongst those on the autistic spectrum is about 8% higher than the rest of the population. So
Yes.
I think you need to take note of all that.
Thank you. And yes, we absolutely do. And thank you for putting that so eloquently. And one of the things it's partly mine and Caroline's job to do is to identify where there are clearly service gaps in what we've been commissioned. And by that means we're not in control of the services that we provide. We have to, as a provider organisation, be specifically commissioned and paid to do those services. And we've done a huge gap analysis over the last year, so we can be very clear where there's gaps in the service that we think need to be filled. We've done a compare and contrast between Norfolk and Suffolk, and the services you're talking about are very much at the top of our priority list. So thank you for that. I see you there, but I'm just going to go to that gentleman over there. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alistair Roy. I'm the chair of Age UK Norwich, and not surprisingly, my question is about those in later life. We know that there's going to be a huge increase in the population of those in later life, and we also know, because there's lots of evidence, that there's an increasing demand for a whole range of different support, both in the community and in hospital care for those in later life. My question is, who on the board is the champion for those in later life, and who on the board of the Council of Governors is the champion for those in later life? And as a secondary, if I may, how are the executive or partner councillors elected or selected? Because I don't see anybody who represents the voluntary sector specifically on either.
Thanks very much. It's a really good question. I'm going to ask Caroline to respond in terms of the services that we provide for those in later life. But it's a really good challenge to make sure that we've got a kind of broad spread of representation across our Council of Governors as well. But Caroline, in terms of service provision.
Yeah, so we've really strengthened in the last year our whole focus on all of our what we call clinical pathways. So we now have in each of our 5 localities clinical leads for older adults, community teams, outreach teams, memory diagnostic teams, and then inpatient services. We're also, we've done we've not quite finished it yet, but we're nearly finished it, a really detailed review of all of our older adult services. We've had long waits for people who have got memory needs, and through one of our listening into action schemes, we've managed to reduce some of those waits significantly. So on the board, our overall lead is our Chief Operating Officer for our clinical services, but equally our Chief Medical Officer, who's here, and our Chief Nurse would also take a particular interest. So there is, for example, an Associate Medical Director for older adults in each of our 5 localities, and that's a significant strengthening of those roles compared to where we were at a year ago. Thank you.
Thanks very much, and I'm very happy to talk to you outside of here about how we ensure that voices from across Norfolk and Suffolk are fully represented in our Council of Governors as well, so maybe we can have a chat afterwards. Thank you for raising that really critically important question. I'm going to go to a question, sorry I kept missing you, over here.
Hello. My response and kind of question wrapped into one was kind of to group of people just over there talking about ADHD and autism and whatnot, is that my name's Kevin. I'm the Trust Neurodiversity lead for Staff Network, and I'm an assistant practitioner in the Children's Under 14s team in Kings Lynn. I wanted to reassure you that from staff side and patient side that the Trust is absolutely dedicated to ensuring inclusivity for neurodivergence, in that when we meet with the Inclusion Council as leaders at the Trust, we meet with Caroline, and Caroline is completely behind ensuring that staff, service users across the board are getting what they need in those respects. So I just wanted to reiterate and give you confidence that we know there's a gap and we're looking at it and we're actively fixing it. So that was just what I wanted to put on.
Thank you very much indeed. And I'm sorry I didn't see you around the corner, but thank you very much for that really valuable contribution. I'm going to go to, I've got Nigel, Christine, then I'm going to Dinah and Eric in that order. Nigel, we've met before. I'm going to remind you, you're very welcome, but you've got one question.
You have met me before,
I
haven't you?
have met you before, Nigel.
How long have I got? That's one question.
You've got 30 seconds to put your question, Nigel.
I'm picking up about autism. Melanie mentioned it in the thingamabobble, and I want to mention it because I've recently been released from Norwich Prison and I suffer from autism, and the number of men in there who suffer with mental health problems. I had a member of staff say to me one day, Nigel, if you haven't got a mental health problem, you'll have one when you come out. And it was only because of my strong mental health that I survived. I don't fit into society. And please, there is not, you've got a long way to go. I know that because I've been through the mental health system and I fought it and I fought prison. And in one way I'm liberated. My question is, please tell us the truth.
Yeah, thanks, Nigel. And thank you for sharing that experience with us as well. Our commitment and absolute promise to you is to always tell you the truth and to be very honest when we haven't got provision where we want provision, and also to be very encouraging of everyone in this room to step in with us to help us make sure that we get to where we want to get to. And I'm really grateful to you, Nigel, for coming today. I know we saw each other not very long ago in Ipswich at Kesgrave, so thank you for coming again today. Really appreciated. Melinda, do you want to say anything in response to that, please?
Thank you. I'm very glad that you've asked me. Did I look like I wanted to?
You did look quite keen.
Yes. I just wanted to say that I went about a week ago to Newmarket to learn about the culture of care. That is a national initiative that is being embedded at NSFT, and it's going to be integrated with the race equality work and a couple of other work streams. But I was so proud of our trust because there were two ward managers from different wards. So there was Sarah Heels from Great Yarmouth and Waveney, and there was Sophie from Samphire Ward over at Kings Lynn. And they talked, one of the key themes of culture of care is about autism, and they talked about the work that they've been doing to support staff in the acute environment. And I was really, really heartened by it. But I promise you the Trust are on it.
Thank you so much for coming in on that, Melinda. I'd like to go to Christine now.
Hello. Just an observation. As a mere mortal, I fail to understand how the CQC can rate the Trust as requires improvement for safety, both in community, where most of the patients are, and crisis services, and then still have good overall. However, that's not my question. My question is, I understand that for the last 2 years, the government has cut funding to NSFT by 5%, and that's been across the board for other trusts as well, which works out at about £34 million, which seems a heck of a lot of money when you're going out and you're doing the reorganisation and putting lots of high-powered, highly paid jobs into each locality, when we really need frontline staff who are keeping our service users safe, so we don't have to continuously open the local press and read about deaths.
Yeah, thanks very much, Christine. Obviously, we're really proud of the CQC findings, and they demonstrate that we're in an improving trajectory. And I'm not one that's going to start arguing with CQC and their methodology here. I think it's an important waymarker and no more than that. As chair of the trust, I'm probably able to say a little bit more about money than maybe our executives, because we are in a national health system. But like you, I'm, with my board members, extremely vigilant to make sure that the efficiency savings that we have to make are not going to derail our improvement plan, and we are not going to let that happen. I'll let Caroline answer some questions around how we're recruiting more staff, how we're retaining more staff, and how we're being able to provide ever greater quality of services and bring those waiting lists down. But not on my watch am I going to allow NSFT to be denuded of resources so that we can't deliver on those improvements that are so absolutely intrinsically vital if we're going to provide the best possible services to our service users and carers. And that's a fight I'm prepared to take anywhere. Caroline.
Shall I pick up the particular... Hi, Christine. If I pick up the particular issue around frontline staff and leaders. I think, as you know, Christine, this trust has been really challenged for many, many years. And had 8 CQC inspections, and leadership has been a real challenge and a real theme of those CQC inspections, and that's only one lens. There's plenty of others. As somebody who's an experienced chief exec, I'm a nurse, and came into the trust and felt that we needed to really develop much, much stronger clinical leadership so that our clinicians were making decisions really close to patient care. So we have invested, we've restructured our organisation into localities. We haven't taken a halfpenny out of the clinical restructure. We're just currently in the middle of a back office corporate restructure, and we have taken significant money out of that, more of our back office services. But unashamedly, and I'm really proud now of our clinical structure, I think we do need leaders that are in localities, that are walking the services, whether it's crisis services, community services, inpatient wards, that we've got medics, nurses, allied health professionals, psychologists that are accountable for the quality of care, and that we've got really strong supervision with service users and carers right at the heart of everything we do. So thank you for that. And I would just say from a staffing perspective, it's not one or the other. We've really focused on recruiting and keeping our staff, and obviously the presentation that I gave earlier shows significant improvement of being able to recruit and retain our staff. We still have a lot more to do. Thank you.
And just to add to that, you know, we're sort of talking to you about sort of process and structure. The thing that I pick up when I go and talk to our staff, and I've been spending loads of times out and about doing that lately, is staff feel a real renewed sense of pride in working for NSFT. We're seeing more people apply for our jobs, more people more likely to stay with us, and people now really feeling that they can share with their social groups that they're working in a trust that they're now proud to talk about. And for me, that is absolutely fundamental to the change that we're seeing happen in NSFT. And I can see loads of our fantastic staff nodding to that. And it's you that's told me that. I'm just holding up a mirror and reflecting that back to you. Dinah.
Thank you. I'm Public Governor for Suffolk. It's lovely to hear about all the new developments, and I feel very positive about the way this trust is going. I particularly wanted to just say to Caroline how pleased I was, not quite the right word, to see her strong statement in the wake of the Manchester problems at the Manchester Synagogue, and the reassuring staff of our commitment to an anti-racist position. Thank you for that, Caroline. My question is, I would like to know a bit more about the CAMS service, Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service. The waiting lists are still way too long. If you're a parent and you've got to wait nearly 2 years for your child to be seen, and then maybe longer than that for a service to come into play, it's hell. And I want to see that change, and I know that you're working on that, and I would like to hear more about it, given that if we pick things up in childhood, we know we reduce the demand on adult services, which makes so much sense. Thank you.
Great question. Thanks, Dinah. Caroline?
Yeah, thanks, Dinah, very much. And really, really important that we get behind the tragedy and the wider community context at the moment in terms of race and diversity. Really important for us, our children's services. And again, if we go back a couple of years, we had children waiting extraordinarily, 4 or 5 years just to be seen for the first time. So it's been a very, very high priority for us. You could see again from my presentation the significant progress we've made, and certainly in Suffolk we've got no children. It's not massively to be proud of, but there is no children now waiting over a year for their first assessment. We've still got a lot of work to do. We're working collaboratively with our partners in social care, voluntary sector, education, and it's obviously with our commissioners around any additional funding at all. But the demand, as we all know, for children, young people and neurodevelopmental delay since the pandemic has quadrupled, and the resources have nowhere near kept up. But that doesn't mean that it isn't a high priority, and our staff have done a fantastic job. They've really focused on improving their productivity as well, and particularly working with partners so that we're seeing the children we need to see, and other partners are seeing the children that can provide support. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to that, one of the important things of moving to these locality directorates, we're not necessarily going to be able to always treat our way out of some of this. We have to get upstream. We have to get preventative. We have to be providing life chances for our children together with partners from that earliest age, so that they're not ending up having to receive very intensive care from us as a specialist mental health trust. So getting into neighbourhoods, getting into prevention, as Dars has talked about, absolutely is a priority for us, and for us to play a real role in that as a mental health trust. I know we're coming to an end now of the Q&A session. Just going to check. I'm going to go to Sarah. Hello. Lovely to see you. I thought it was you. Hello. I'm going to go to Sarah, James, and then I'm going to finish up with Eric. Lovely to see you.
My question may sound a little bit kind of procedure-led. I am a former Suffolk public governor. I haven't been for a while now. You asked us to vote on changes in governance, and it's resulted in now there being less governors in Suffolk than in Norfolk. We've heard so many wonderful things about improvements. It's really very positive. Many of the facilities that have been mentioned are in fact in Norfolk, although Caroline did just mention services in Suffolk, but it has, I would say, on account it's been more Norfolk based. My question was whether the number of members of the trust truly reflects the needs of patients in Suffolk, and also the number of interactions between residents of Suffolk and the mental health services. Because I wrote down something about the number of members, but it's not clear, and I'm not sure how many the staff members actually are sort of Norfolk based. I was somewhat disappointed to see that the number of Suffolk governors has gone down.
So, yeah, thanks very much indeed for that. I think the first point I'd make is that we always want more people to become members. The second point I would make is we know that there's a disproportionality between Norfolk, and we saw that, didn't we, in Jason's charts when we weren't thinking about the football, where the kind of the cost and the kind of the volume of services in Norfolk is reflective of the sheer fact that Norfolk is bigger. And Suffolk is smaller, so there's a split in our budgets between Norfolk and Suffolk. I think it's about a third Norfolk and 66%. Sorry, third Suffolk, 66% Norfolk, which only adds up to 99, so I don't know where the rest has gone. Probably somewhere in the North Sea. But it's a really important point about whether or not the representation in terms of governing body is reflective of Norfolk and Suffolk, proportionate. And we'll take that away and just do a quick check on that. I will say that in terms of non-executive director representation, I think we veered from one way to another. And I think we've now actually got more people tending towards Suffolk than Norfolk. So just to reassure you, Sarah, we see the two counties as one. We're really proud that we are a single organisation covering Norfolk and Suffolk, and we're really delighted that our Integrated Care Board, which is the body that gives us the money, is now covering the whole of Norfolk and Suffolk. So we will not neglect Suffolk, is our pledge. Do you want to say anything more on that, Caroline?
I'll just say, Sarah, that all the locality structure that we've put in place really, to some extent, given the funding disproportionately advantageously is a bit more enhanced in Suffolk, given the population sizes and the budgets. But I think most importantly, we've been so clear around we provide services across Norfolk and Suffolk. I think too long there was a separation. And the history of two trusts coming together. And certainly when I first landed, I felt it was to some extent still being run as two separate trusts. And there's so much learning that's happened across teams once they start to work together. And the enhanced leadership we put in all 5 of our localities. Thank you.
Thank you. Please do come back, Sarah. I would love to have you putting your hand up as a Suffolk governor if you could bear it. James, and then Eric, I'm going to give you the last word.
Thank you very much. James Reader. I'm Suffolk County Council appointed governor. So, Sarah, we're looking after Suffolk, believe you me. We hear a lot about integrated care, and you've just mentioned about the ICB coming together across the two counties, which I personally think is an extremely good idea. Obviously, with the new 10-year plan that has been put forward by this government, are you confident that you and this trust will be able to play its full part? One, have you the resources to do it? And secondly, are you welcome at the table? Because I hope you certainly are. And just a finishing point, we have only had one question about finance. May I just congratulate Jason and his team to get to a surplus of £3,000 on a £4 million budget. 400 million pound budget, which is amazing to the finance team, but also to the staff who have to manage those budgets. And just because we have mentioned Norwich Football Club, it would be remiss of me not to mention Ipswich. And I think 3,000... and 3,000 is the number of pies that Ipswich sell each match compared to Norwich at each home match. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, and Nigel was very mischievous there in mentioning that 3-1. But then we won't share the pain. It's such a good question. I've completely forgotten what you asked. But Caroline.
Thank you so much. I think the question is around integrated care and how are we positioned. So I think we are the best. We've positioned ourselves the best that we've ever been, because we're now working in localities. We've also developed our new health equity strategies. As we've heard, in the heart of that is about us working in neighbourhoods. We're starting to develop the confidence to work much more proactively with our partners. I think we feel really welcomed. We're absolutely delighted with all of our partnership working with the police, with local authorities, with ICBs, with the voluntary sector. Of course, there's a lot more to do, but I think it's going from strength to strength. Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. Eric?
Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm Eric Crossfield. I'm a public Suffolk governor. Just to support the volume, not only the quantity, but the quality. Oh, did I say that out loud? What I really like about this Q&A is that all the questions have been about communities, the communities that we serve, and I think that's really important and obviously fabulous. I belong also to another community, which is the veterans community, and I sit on as a member of the Patient Public Voice Group of NHS England Armed Forces Services. So we've co-produced some fantastic services, and I know that we offer fantastic services for veterans in NSFT, and I would like to have heard a bit. I would like to continue to hear more about that, because the veterans community interweaves with all of the other communities as well. So I just wondered if anybody's got any information about the Veterans Integrated Service.
Yeah, thanks very much, Eric. And of course, we had Wayne and colleagues today from the Veterans Service, which is very much a jewel in our crown, and they are receiving their gold award on the HMS. I'd like to say Victory, but I know it's not that. That would Belfast. Did the other one sing? I don't know. Anyway, it's a ship that's still afloat in the Thames. We're getting our gold award being presented by the Ministry of Defence for the work that's done on veterans across our counties. But it is a really important service that we are preciously safeguarding. Is there anything more you want to say on that, Caroline? No, but thank you very much, Eric, for all you do on that as well. So we've had a really great session of questions and answers. We've rightly had challenge. We've had suggestions for the way we can do better. I think the idea that we should be more inclusive and sign these meetings in the future is a really good one. So we'll certainly take that away as learning from today. I've really enjoyed the interaction that we've had with our communities, with those that we're here to serve, because that's what the NHS is for. We're here to serve you. So thank you very much indeed for that session. Can I just say a huge thank you to my colleagues who have presented today, both executive colleagues and Melinda on behalf of the Council of Governors. And can I say an enormous thank you too to my other executive and importantly my non-executive colleagues who play a fundamental role in ensuring that we keep on it and we keep at it and we keep improving as a trust. So thank you to all of you too. Last but not least, another huge thank you to everyone that took place in the marketplace. It was really thrilling to be part of something so buzzy, so lively, so kind of positive and forward-looking, and so affirming of the fact that we're going to do this and we're going to get this job done. So thank you very much for that. Can I also say that I think this is my 4th AGM as well, as chair. Is it that long? Look how young I was when I started. And I loved this venue. I thought it was really great, really accessible. I love the fact that we had members of the public really coming through and hopefully being really interested in what we do. So I think we should kind of learn from that as well. And it takes a lot to organise an event like this as well. So I'd just like to say a big thank you to Rebecca and all of our comms team who've done just such a brilliant job in pulling this together. So any of the bad bits were all down to me and all of the good bits were all down to you. Thank you very much indeed and have a lovely journey home. Thank you.